What do a soda bottle, a concert ticket, a duty-free store, and your Verbo rental have in common? Well, I'll tell you today. They're all about to cost more in Washington. This isn't a new tax, it's a pattern, a pile-on. And today we're running through all of it. Welcome to the Evergreen Report. I'm your host, Jay. Let's jump right in. Before I jump into that, I do want to just go back. So, if you are looking for all the taxes, if you've seen these amazing posts by Future 42, Washington Republicans over on X, they mentioned many bills that have been covered. So I do want to just cover all those bills that I have been researching, been developing, and been talking about a little bit. So House Bill 2049, local property tax, I covered that in episodes 13 and 14. Bill 1, the ticket fee, gas tax, luxury sports fees, I covered that in episode 10. Discover Pass, episode 10, 2031, episode 10. 2035, episode 11, that's the liquor license fees. House Bill 1517, device tax, episode 11. And then, of course, just yesterday, I covered the Senate Bill 5814, the ZIN tax expansion as well. Covered that in episode 14. Not in great depth, but did cover it. And I believe I also covered it between episodes 10 and 11 as well. Top story today, House Bill 2081. 2081, the B&O tax, expanding the failed Seattle business tax to the rest of the state. So increases the business and occupation tax rates, adds a new 0.5% B&O surcharge for company with over $250 million in Washington revenue, raises the tax rate on financial institutions from 1.2 to 1.5, jumps the advanced computer surcharge from 7.5 on mega 10 companies, worldwide revenue over $25 billion. Narrows deductions on investment income for businesses, is positioned as a way to fund K-12 education, higher ed, healthcare, and social services. B&O provisions, tax increases from 0.48 to 0.5 across most classifications. New 0.5% surcharge on Washington state taxable income over $250 million. Advanced computing surcharge raised from 1.22% to 7.5% for tech giants. Starts 2026, tapped at $75 million a group. Financial institutions rate raised to 1.5% starting October 2025. Restricts B&O investment income deductions to incidental income only, less than 5% of gross receipts. Revenue goes into both the general fund and the workforce education investment account. Effective dates, they are scattered through October 1st, 2025, January 1st, 2026, January 1st, 2027, 2034, and 2030, which is when the big business surcharge sunset. And of course, you would have never guessed it, this bill does include an emergency clause. I know that's crazy. It's crazy they're going to include an emergency clause in this. Why, if it's so good, if it's so not controversial, why not let people vote on it? Well, I'm assuming because big tech has a lot of money. That's who they're going after here. They're going after big business, and they know they have enough money to challenge them via referendum, via this process. And they also have plenty of money to challenge via the initiative process as well. You know, this is one of the few things that doesn't touch property taxes or sales tax to create more revenue. But again, as you know, here in Washington State, we don't have a revenue problem. We have a, say it with me now, kids, spending problem. Spending problem, we all know that. We've all learned that very well over this legislature session these last 12 weeks. We've learned it very well that we have a spending problem, not a revenue problem. And we have politicians who are fighting the wrong side of the 80-20 issues that no one seems to care about. They're fighting on the 20% versus 80% where the majority of their constituents actually lie. So this creates the highest B&O surcharge rates in the nation. In the nation, the highest B&O surcharge. Is that going to drive out jobs, you think? Let's think about that. Is that going to drive out jobs? I don't know. It could. Probably will. I don't know, Jay. Yes, it's going to drive out jobs. If we have the highest surcharge, what makes you think that these businesses won't bounce? Surcharge on tech and large employers could trigger job relocation or pass-through costs. See? Or they're going to pass it down to their employees or back to you, the consumer. The products they make, services they provide. Maybe not give as many raises. Maybe have to rework their benefits to cover these taxes. The cost is going to come somewhere. And it's going to come at the cost of the people in the very end, because it always does. Advanced computing tax increases to 7.5% is a massive jump. It's made tier feature tech investment. Yeah, no one's going to want to have to come and invest in a state or an area, like no matter how good it is, no matter how great it is, it's going to deter future tech investment. It's also, believe it or not, this will have a trickle down, in my opinion, a trickle down into other areas, to where we're looking at less STEM academies, because where are those jobs going to go? Where are those young people going to go get jobs then after? It's just a continued trickle down of those things. Tangles in complex exemptions and definitions, sets a precedent for non-voter approved major tax hikes. Of course. This is seen as a direct hit on business competitiveness, raises the cost of employers without reducing regulatory burdens, could cause capital flight, especially from advanced computing companies and banks. So if they're big enough, they're going to move. They're just going to up and bounce, which leaves us none the better here in Washington State. Businesses may pass cost to consumers, hidden tax on everyone. So with these taxes, there's always something in it for everybody, right? Yes, at the way it's going to be prior to the tax itself, it's framed. Let's frame it. Oh, this is going to be great. We're going to tax the rich. We're going to tax the wealthy. We're going to tax all these people, right? It's going to be great. We're going to make all this revenue and at what cost? But don't worry about that. It's more money for the state, more money for these services, more money for public health, public safety, public education, all these things, right? More money for us to spend recklessly without your approval anyways, because we don't need your approval to collect it. We're just going to spend it without your approval anyways. And then we're going to go over here and don't think here, people. Don't think this is not going to affect your paychecks if you work at one of these places. This isn't going to drive out these businesses. This may not cost you your job. We're not going to talk about that. This could cost education. This could cost you bigger markups on these products that we're going to be taxing these industries, these techs, things like that. Banks, firms, all these costs. Don't worry, these costs won't be passed to you. Wink, fingers crossed. It's going to jump. It's going to come down to us, the consumer, at the end of the day, in all these domains where they're taxing these higher B&O taxes. That's what it comes down to. That's absolutely what it comes down to. And it's terrible for our state. So this is Washington State Policy Center has called this one of the largest tax expansions in state history. Seattle Times and Washington State Standard note the progressive framing, but acknowledge tech and businesses backlash is brewing. Watch for potential legal challenges around the advanced computing surcharge and B&O expansions. Of course, big tech's going to fight this one if they want to stay here in the state. This is, again, another Amazon tax, Microsoft tax, Nintendo tax, any big tech industry that we have here in the state. I just know those three for sure. I'm not sure what else we have in our state here. Please, someone inform me, because I am uninformed in that. With that, let's jump into House Bill 2043, Foundation for Future Gas Tax. Yes, do you like paying more at the pump? Well, Democrats think you do. They love to charge you more money. More money is good. But what is it? This is a statement of legislation's intent to raise transportation revenue by developing new funding sources, especially in response to declining fuel tax revenue due to electric hybrid vehicles, rising infrastructure and construction costs, even though they want to tax EVs more too, but they gave the credit to bring the EVs in. Now they're like, oh crap, well, let's tax the people who are still using it, but then also let's make it harder to buy cars. Let's also create a public space where those hybrid electric vehicles, Teslas, things like that, actually are public enemy number one. So we're caught in this weird place where it's like, what is good, what is bad, right? Everything bad, nothing good, but we're losing money on this because we're pushing this climate agenda, so we're not getting the gas revenue because less people are using gas, more people are using electric, but we also need to tax the electric, but we also said we're going to get credits to the electric, but we're also trying to fight this climate thing. So we're kind of fighting ourselves here on a lot of this. So this bill does not directly impose gas tax or new fees, but sets the stage for doing so in follow-up legislation. It emphasizes the importance of sustainable transportation funding, economic growth tied to reliable infrastructure, anticipated challenges in fuel sustainability. So what that reads to me is transportation funding, more gas tax, economic growth tied to reliable infrastructure, tolls galore. They're going to put tolls everywhere they can think of to put one. Anticipated challenges in new fuel tax sustainability. They're already raising it. They already got the Climate Commitment Act. How much more gas money do they need? How much more of our money do they need? Do they not take enough? They take enough. They take more than enough. This opens the door to tax hikes, higher gas taxes without yet providing caps or specifics. This may signal bundled tax increases in future budget bills. This is seen as a warning shot. This is an absolute warning shot. This is kind of to warn you, take cover, smoke before the fire. It lays the groundwork for bigger transportation tax packages, so keep an eye on what comes next. And then you got House Bill 1607, 10% Beverage Container Refund Program. What does this do? Creates a statewide bottle bill recycling refund system. So we covered a previous recycling bill in the last one. I want to say that was, I don't remember the name of it, 54 something, I think. Go back and listen to that last episode. But we talked about it. So what this does, it creates a statewide bottle bill recycling fund refund system. 10% deposit per beverage container, glass, plastic, metal. This ice drink I'm drinking is going to cost 10%, 10 cents more. Buy a 12-pack of soda, extra $1.20. I remember I worked at Pepsi in 2017 in Arizona. 2017. We used to run 4 for 10 12-packs. 4 for 10, $2.50 a 12-pack. It was great. It was great. Times were good. Times were good back in 2017. 4 for 10, 4 for 12. we would run 4 for $8 on the freaking 6-pack bottles of soda. Now, those things are like $8 on their own for one here in Washington. Like, I know it's a different state, different place, but it's still very similar. It's wild. It's wild. And that was with local bottling and local distribution to all these places. Same here in Washington. We have the Pasco Pepsi here in the Tri-Cities, and we have local bottle, local distribution. It's crazy. Paid by consumers, refunded upon return. Applies to most beverages except milk, infant formula, meal replacement. Producers must join a nonprofit producer responsibility organization to manage the system. Retailers must collect the deposit and can opt to host redemption sites. Redemption options include bag drop systems, vending machines, and full service centers. Target 65% redemption by year 2, 80% by year 5. Goes live July 1st, 2029. So 4 years, this is going to go live to create this bottle tax, and then it goes indefinitely into the future, I guess. I don't see a emergency clause attached to this one, so that's cool. This is a market-driven incentive model with producer and retailer buy-in, but it's going to increase the cost of living for you, for me. Deposits get paid up front, so an extra 8-pack of soda, 80 cents. Extra 6-pack of bottles, 60 cents. Extra 12-pack, $1.20. This is going to be passed on to you. Who knows? It's going to cost them more on labeling, things like that for the producers as well, to change these things and to update those. So who knows? Maybe it's a 12-cent. Maybe now the grocery store also has to host a redemption site. So maybe now it's 15 cents per bottle, per can, kind of things. Really something really interesting to think about. However, I will say, if you have kids, and once this goes into effect, because I mean it's a Democrat-sponsored bill, it's going to go into effect. You'll pay a dime for every drink. If you recycle, great. If not, more money gone at checkout. But this is a great way to incentivize your children to go out and make some easy money. Go around door to door, knock, knock, knock. Hey, are you gonna recycle at the store? Can I have bottles? $100 or $10? Do that 10 times over, you made $100. Do that 20 times, $200. Like this really adds up really quickly if you are returning them. So it's just something very, very interesting to think about here. Great side hustle for your kids. Great opportunity for them. So that's kind of the briefing on that. Want to jump into 2061 duty-free tax shop. This new bill imposes a 10% concession fee on sales tax on sales made by duty-free shops operating in Washington State. These fees are in addition to all existing state and local laws. Revenue and the fee will fund statewide tourism marketing, sustainable aviation fuel fund. This bill targets duty-free shops located at airports, near borders, and sell goods like alcohol, tobacco, luxury items, and for international travelers. So, of course, it makes tourism more expensive. There is no emergency clause in this one, so that one's really interesting. They probably know this one's kind of a stretch. Probably not going to pass this one. This applies to all merchandise sold, include alcohol, tobacco, electronics, jewelry, so everything in that store. So if you go to the airport, you're paying extra 10% on all that stuff. It's already not worth it. Now this is even more not worth it. But you're already there. You don't have another option. Just bring an empty water bottle with you so you can just keep up. Maybe some drink packets as well. Just something to continue to think about, continue to consider there. So fees in addition to the B&O tax and any fees paid to Port Local Authority collects revenue split in a 50-50, half to statewide tourism marketing, half to the sustainable aviation fuel account. So whoever's sponsoring this and funding this bill to be sponsored definitely is coming from the tourism market, and half is coming from the sustainable fuel account. So I guarantee if you go and look at the sponsors of this bill, actually let's do that. We have a few minutes. We have a couple minutes we can spare for this. We're going to go to Ledge. The website just looks a little bit different now. It's probably having a couple errors. Maybe they're updating it, doing some things on it. There's 5 days left in the session or 4 days left of today. This is coming out Wednesday. So this bill is sponsored by Fitzgibbon, Gregerson, Kloba, and Ramel. So I want you guys to go and look up, if you are interested, to go and see who funds these 4 politicians that are sponsoring this bill. Because I can almost guarantee, walk it back, follow the money. There's connection. Always connection. So there is no emergency clause, which is cool. This one can be fought via referendum. And I think I've said enough about this bill. This is going to add a 10% on top of what you already pay. Duty-free stores are going to be less competitive with other states or countries. Could discourage high-spending travelers and hurt sales at ports and border zones. Adds compliance burdens for a niche retail sector. Critics may see it as a revenue grab disguised as environmental tourism policy. Yes, it 100% is. It's just a revenue grab. That's all it is. It's just a revenue grab. Just another revenue grab. That's all it is. Takeaway here, it's not, do you want Washington to be tourism friendly? Do we want tourists to come in? with the World Cup coming up and so many great celebrations our country's going to be having, so many great things happening in Washington, in Seattle, let's make it more unaffordable. Let's make it worse. Let's make it more of a struggle. Tourism friendly? Nah, not anymore. Let's do a direct hit to anyone who crosses the border. And I think that's a perfect segment here into this. We've covered this on a previous bill. Maybe you've seen it before. This is House Bill 2084, Storage Unit Bullion Tax, repeals tax exemption on gold, silver bullion, adds B&O tax to self-storage unit rentals. They're going to try to tax them the same. This has an emergency clause, so it's already going to be locked in. Date goes in. Saving your retirement in gold, you're going to pay more. Renting a storage unit, add that to your monthly bill too. So just more on top of more. That they're finding everything they can tax. Let's tax it. Metals, bullion. Let's tax precious metals. Let's tax gold, silver, platinum from the B&O tax. The storage unit, classify. I don't understand how these two are related in one bill. Like, I feel like these two should be standalone bills. The storage unit tax, the bullion tax. Like, let's put those separately, put those aside in two different bills. But essentially, it's going to classify self-storage unit as rentals. They're going to be taxable business activity. Applies the B&O tax rate to them. For the bullion tax, that goes into effect October 1st, 2025, April 1st, 2026 for a storage unit. This has an emergency clause because it's deemed necessary to support the state government, which means no referendum challenge is allowed. So if you like holding your retirement funds in gold, silver, bullion, and maybe it's time to look elsewhere to maybe see where you can move those funds to so that they're protected and so they're not going to be taxed upon taxes. Because they love to tax you on things that you're just holding to try to make your life better. But let's tax it to make it harder for you to hold on to those things. So you're more poor, so you're more reliant on government. Renting a storage unit, which a lot of Washingtonians are because our places are just so small. We're all caught in consumerism. We all have stuff. Sometimes we have to downsize before we re-upsize, and we have to have a storage unit for that short-term storage kind of thing. So just something to think of here. Repealing the bullion exemption may impact retirees, savers, small investors who use gold, silver as inflation hedges, which a lot of people do. Storage unit tax will be passed on to the consumer, which is going to affect lower and middle income families who rely on these units. It's going to add costs for small businesses using storage facilities for operations, seen by critics as creeping expansion of tax base without voter consent. So there's a lot here. This bill is criticized as a repeal of investment protections. Similar proposals have failed in past years after heavy lobbying from bullion dealers and storage industry groups. Reflects a broader national trend of taxing previously exempt goods services to balance progressive state budget. So with our budget out of control, with them just spending, they're looking for anything that they can do to tax you on. And that includes anything that you use on a day-to-day basis, including but not limited to your peer-to-peer car sharing luxury tax services, your rental car tax when you use a Lyft and Uber, anything like that, Uber, Lyft, Turo, whatever you're using. Well, this is going to cost you more. It's going to cost you more. Rental tax, cars, and even just rental cars that you get in general are going to cost you more. 5.9% to 11.9%. Then settles at 9.9. So it's going to go up 6% and then down 2%. So now Turo, Get Around are going to be taxed like Hurt. A 10% luxury car tax on portion over $100,000 is not included in emergency clause. So whether you're driving a Benz or borrow a Civic through Turo, you're going to be paying a significant amount more, which doesn't really seem ideal because don't you want those services to be more accessible? But you want people to come here, right? You want people to be able to drive around in rental cars. Rental cars are going to cost more. I'm fired up about this bill. I'm fired up right now. Fired up. They're going to be taxed at the same rate. So all peer-to-peer car sharing services, Turo, Get Around, all going to be taxed the same. Revenue directed into transportation infrastructure account. 10% tax on the portion of the car's price over $100,000 applies to new purchases or leases, including luxury SUVs, cars, and motorcycles. So this one can be challenged. There's no emergency clause. This closes tax loopholes for peer-to-peer car sharing, ensuring partiality with traditional rentals. Creates new dedicated funding for transportation projects without general tax hike. Targets luxury goods for higher taxation instead of everyday items. I mean, you can say that those are good things, whatever. But there's more bad. This is absolutely going to hurt tourism, burden low-income travelers. Peer-to-peer car sharing may become less affordable now, reducing participation, which is going to hurt those who rely on that income, who use that income for their day-to-day. Luxury vehicle tax could deter in-state auto sales for high-end models. Also, this is just in-state auto sales of these vehicles. So they're also targeting the luxury cars in our state. So again, another tax towards the ultra wealthy, towards the wealthy here. And I'm not even ultra wealthy. I just want, these people to stay so that they can, continue to help fund some of our economy as it is. So this is a tax on mobility for independent car owners monetizing their vehicles, budget conscious travelers using car sharing to save, Peer-to-peer platforms operate as part of a gig economy, and this tax could stifle innovation. So coverage has largely focused on this from the peer-to-peer taxation language, with tour lobbying for exemptions or lower rates, part of a larger trend across states to close gaps between traditional and app-based vehicle services. They don't want you to have any fun. They want to take these away from you no matter what you're doing. They want you to pay more. They want you to pay to just drive and to live your life. Not only that, we're talking about tourism. So if you come here, right, first off, you're going to pay more for anything you need to buy at the airport right away. You're thirsty, you're hungry, you want a snack, something like that. First off, we're going to tax you more on that. We're going to make you pay more on that. Second off, we're going to make you pay more on that rental car you're going to get. Third off, we're also going to tax you 4% more on platform bookings, Airbnb, Vrbo, things like that. Because we want to fund affordable housing and the homelessness programs, which have done nothing. Our homelessness gone up, affordable housing gone down. We don't have it, doesn't exist. Greater Airbnb fees by 2026, pay, host, lose revenue. So everyone loses in this. If you're planning on coming for the World Cup, this feels like it's a shift to go back to more hotels and things like that. Feels like that's where this is coming from. Get back to the hotels. Stop having all these Airbnbs, discourage people, sell those homes, get them into regular single family homes, and stop renting them out and making money off of this while we have, this housing crisis here. Not for lack of gaining, not because, investors don't want to invest here as it is, not for those reasons whatsoever. But we're not going to talk about all that. So like I'm saying here, 4% raise can be imposed on any city, town, or county in 1% increments for Airbnb, Vrbo, or other similar services. This will collect the tax for local government free of charge to those doing it. 15% of funds can be retained for administrative costs. Taxes may not begin before April 1st, 2026. Jurisdictions must publish an annual report on spending. So, of course, this discourages tourism. This could drive up vacation costs for travelers and tourists. This may lead to reduced participation in short-term rentals by hosts due to higher prices. Does not apply to non-platform rentals, creating potential enforcement loopholes. This could indirectly raise costs for local short-term rental stays, relocation, work travel, things like that. This is another one of those creeping taxes on consumers, adding costs to middle-class families, small-scale hosts. Seen as government picking winners and losers in the housing market, favoring long-term rentals over flexible lodging. Concerns over lack of caps or sunset clauses. 4% is a sizable new tax layer with no expiration. It may be used as double dipping since many localities already levy lodging taxes. So, they just want you to pay more. They want you to pay more to have fun. This is similar to Denver, Portland, Seattle. This is going to put it across the state. A national conversation continues around how short-term rentals affect housing affordability, gentrification. Industry groups like Airbnb often push back against platform-specific taxes, calling them discriminatory. Of course, I think we want to encourage people to come and spend their money here. We don't want to make that less affordable and take more of their money up front before they even get here to spend it out in the community, small businesses, things like that. But I guess, Democrats think that's a good idea. Of course, now we talked about kind of that gold, that silver. What about being taxed on money you haven't even made yet? Capital gains, estate tax expansion. We've talked about the estate tax expansion before, how that increases. I'm not going to go into that. But high value capital gains tax. We haven't really talked about this too much, just because one of those things that you hear capital gains, you're like, I don't even know what the hell that means. Well, let me break it down for you a little bit. So this would just add a 2.9% surtax on long-term capital gains above $1 million on top of the existing 7% capital gains tax. So now a 9.9 capital gains tax creates a more progressive estate tax structure, raises the state estate exclusion amount from $3 million starting in 2025. All the revenue from these two bills, guess what? It goes to education, K through 12 education, early learning, things like that. The capital gains only applies to individuals. New surtax of 2.9% on capital gains over 1 million. Effective total capital gains rate becomes 9.9%. So about 10% of that money. So 10% of $1 million, $100,000 is now going to go to the state on capital gains. Money that you've worked hard to earn. You're gaining from selling something. Maybe you made a great product. You're selling it here in the state. If you're making wealth, you're making money, you're doing good. Guess what? Now you have to pay 10% of that to Washington because we just want to take it from you because we don't care about how hard you work. That $100,000 is ours, so we can fund education and keep spending it recklessly. It's just frustrating. Both these bills are declared necessary for the support of state government, so they both, yes, include that ever so amazing emergency clause. Why? I don't know. Please stop asking me why. I don't know these things. They just do. I don't get it. I don't like it. Neither do you. This is a wealth tax reputation. This adds to the growing list of wealth tax reputation that Washington State has. A 9.9 capital gains tax could drive high-income individuals to relocate. I mean, absolutely will. They're not going to pay 9.9%. on gains that they're making here, they're going to move and pay significantly less to other states. So this, of course, removes our voice too, which is another big red flag here. What's being said in the media about this? So this was covered by Washington State Standard, Seattle Times as part of the Democrats' progressive tax reform package. Businesses and tax policy groups like Washington Policy Center oppose the bill, citing risk to state competitiveness. National debate brewing as Washington experienced with new wealth-focused taxes. So they're going after the rich. They love to, tax the rich, tax the rich, tax the rich. But ultimately, this does come back to you in some way, shape, or form, and it will hurt you and I at the end of this. But let's also talk about how not only are there capital gains, what if you were taxed on unrealized gains, gains that you didn't even know you were going to have? How about you're taxed on those? Correct. Senate Bill 5797, so wealth tax. First in the nation state level wealth tax. First in the nation. Of course, is framed to fund public education, K through 12, early learning, childcare, higher education costs through a more progressive revenue source. Tax rate of 34 cents per $1,000, 0.34 on taxable intangible assets. Intangible assets are taxing you on. Stuff, money that you don't even have yet. This applies to residents with more than 50 million in qualifying financial assets. And these assets held as of December 31st, 2026, reported in tax in 2027. The first 50 million in qualifying assets, retirement accounts, college savings plans, annuities, private business ownership, S corps, and partnerships. So if you make good money, making 50 million, you're wealthy, you're building that wealth. Well, guess what? You're one of the 4,300 people that this is going to target. Applies to only your unrealized gain. Only applies to individuals, not corporations. Targets publicly traded financial instruments, excluding cash equivalents. Defines residency and domicile for Washington's taxation purposes. Anti-avoidance rule transfers to minors or trusts meant to avoid tax to be reclaimed or ignored. Penalties for undervaluing assets up to 50% of tax owed. Revenue use, this will all go to education in some way, shape, or form. This, of course, does include an emergency clause. And we're going to cover this here in a second, but why does it always include an emergency clause? I feel like every one of these bills, the more I started looking into it, the more I started looking for it, make sure I was doing it, I found more and more emergency clauses. Why do they need an emergency clause on every single freaking taxation bill? Why don't they let the people talk? Why don't they let the people speak? Why don't they let these big businesses lobby? They let them lobby one way. Why not let them lobby the other way against something that they're doing? It's just frustrating. Very frustrating. It's a first in the nation tax. Legal challenges will likely be coming next. This is opposed by business groups, Washington State Policy Center, and legal scholars. Similar efforts in California and New York have failed or stalled due to political and legal resistance. But when you slap an emergency clause on there, you can pass whatever you want. When you have the supermajority, you shut down debate, you can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Surprised they haven't shut me down yet. Actually, I'm not cool enough to be shut down. But that's something different. Going through this here, quick fire recap. What you'll pay more for. Business, 2081. B&O, big tech, banking, has an emergency clause. Gas, 2043. Future increase likely. Emergency clause in the framework only. Beverages, 1607, plus 10% per container. No emergency clause. Duty-free stores, 10% more at checkout. No emergency clause. 2084 adds a B&O tax on storage units. Yes. Also has an emergency clause. Also, gold and silver ends tax exemption. Yes, so you're going to be taxed on those items. Rentals, car rental, luxury car tax, also going to be taxed on that. More money there. No emergency clause. You can fight that one. Airbnb, 5576, 4% increase. No emergency clause on that one. Capital gains, 2082, 2.9% surtax, raising it to 9.9% total. Yes, unrealized gains. Yes, also has an emergency clause. You're also going to pay more for that. Remember, you have a voice. You can go to ledge.wa.gov. You can submit testimony. You can submit your opposition. You can submit all those things. You can still challenge 2061, 5576, 5801, 1607, 2084. You can ask your reps, why are there so many emergency clauses? What protections are in place for low-income renters, savers, travelers? What about us? What about us, the people? We're trying to make money here, but yet we're going to be taxed on all these things. I was trying to convert my savings, my retirement into a gold RA because I know that's more secure. I know you can hedge against the market that way, but guess what? Nope, not anymore. You can't hedge against the market that way. So what the heck are we doing? What is going on? We see these policy failings, but let's do it in Washington State. Let's try to pass it here. We'll slap an emergency clause on it, and we'll be the first in the nation to do so. Let's be proud of that. Let's be proud of raising costs for middle class. Let's be proud of taxing the wealthy more, driving them out of our state, hurting our local economy, hurting local businesses, and hurting those who rely on these big businesses for their daily income, for their daily bread. So with that, this isn't tax fairness. This is tax fatigue. I'm so tired of talking about taxes. This isn't tax fairness. This is, again, like I said, it's fatigue. It's not just what they tax, but how they hide it. They frame it in all these ways, right? They frame, oh, it's going to help this, it's going to help this, it's going to help this. But the real cost to you, they don't tell you that. If you're traveling to Washington, you're going to pay more essentially for just coming here, going to the airport, paying more tax, more in your rental car fees, more in your vacation rental fees. You're going to pay more taxes just, going around buying things, more cost of living to our consumers because of these bottle taxes, things like that. It's going to be more hard to get tourists, to attract people to come live here that want to be here. They're like, oh, Washington's so beautiful, but the taxes are kind of crazy. If you're here, you're kind of stuck because you don't have enough money to move and get up and out of here. And so it's just kind of one of those things, we're stuck, right? And then this affects everything from the vending machine to the concert gate to your garage. Everything's up, but your voice is locked out. They do these things in silence. Democracy dies in the dark, and democracy is dying slowly here in Washington State with all these emergency clauses. Speak up. Speak up. Your voice may feel like it's locked out, but it's not. You can still speak up. You can still talk. You can still bring these things up to legislatures. You can still comment on these bills. Go to ledge.wa.gov. You can get involved. You can support initiatives. You can support them at the ballot. You can vote these people out when they're challenged in 2026 by the opposite party. If you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, guess what? I will have many of representatives on who are going against the grain, that are trying to fight back for you, the people, for us, the people. I will have many of them on in the future, and I'm really excited for that, for those connections here. So that's been Evergreen Report today. I'll see you next time. Remember to follow on X and Instagram at Evergreen RPT. X, Instagram, only social media that I have. If you got a story that shocked you, send it to us. Send it to me. I would love to hear it. I would love to talk to you about it. And then, of course, last thing here is, you probably noticed this amazing polo that I'm wearing. This is from shopforfathers.com, SHOPFORTHERS. You can use the code YOUNGDAD to save you some money. So I'm going to go pull it up here. They have some great, amazing polos. They actually don't make this one anymore. I was really disappointed to hear that, because I wanted just to get a new one to refresh it, since I've had it for a couple years now. I love Forefathers. This is a brand that I personally wear, that I personally love. If you love pizza, right there, Pizza Night. If you love America, 7076 still lit. If you like happy hour, if you're girl dad, boy dad, rise and grind, or coffee connoisseur like myself, you always see me drinking a cup of coffee on the podcast here. I love me some coffee. Level Up, Pop the Hood, basketball, all these different ones. Butcher's Cut. This is a new one. This replaces the Meat Sweats one. Glazed over donuts. Every dad loves a good donut. Batters Up, baseball fan, get out there, go get you one of these. And just so many more options here. Go blue, go red, support your political party with a polo, with an amazing looking polo. Best thing about this, you can save 20%. See all those costs there, $72. You save 20% with code YOUNGDAD at checkout. So with that, I will leave you guys with episode 15. Happy Wednesday. Hope you guys have a great day. I will see you back hopefully tomorrow with an Evergreen local for the Tri-Cities, just to kind of get caught up on local news and to give myself a break from all the things going on in Olympia. There's only a few days left in the legislature session, so we'll be following it closely here as well. Please follow over on X, and that's the best place to get all the news for things happening in the legislature and to stay informed, keep up with everything. So until next time, stay evergreen.